live.
Hey there guys, it's James and John here. We're here with another one of our live stream videos. We're doing these every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon in the UK from 3:30 PM BST, and we're going to do something a little bit different this time. We're going to talk about a few of our favourite stories from this week. So we're going to cover off the iPhone 8, the LG V30 camera news that we heard earlier today, and John's also here to talk a little bit about Netflix and Disney and their strange relationship at the moment. Let us know comments in the feed right now, and we'll get to those right at the end, but we're going to run through everything and then we're going to start looking at your comments. Cool. Do you want to say anything, John? I've just done all of that, sorry.
No, I'm good. But this iPhone 8 thing, so that's going to be like a fairly small release then. We're thinking, you know, like maybe they'll just kind of do a little bit of a soft launch, you know, like see how it goes.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
No?
That's not going to happen. iPhone 8 is the 10-year anniversary of the first iPhone, so we think Apple are going to go really big on this. And you may be wondering why we're saying iPhone 8 instead of the iPhone 7S, because that's usually the way Apple does things. We do think there will be an iPhone 7S, an iPhone 7S Plus, and an iPhone 8, which is the all guns blazing kind of iPhone that you want to go for with every new feature.
Okay, I have many questions for you.
Yeah.
Phone expert James Peckham. So first off, 3 new iPhones in 1 year.
Yep.
Has that ever happened before?
No, yeah, it has, but like it's never been this kind of style. It's never been the style of having one amazing all singing, all dancing phone and then 2 of the normal ones. It's always been the SE or the 5C. It's always been the cheaper line.
So in previous years they've done that budget release, and then those budget releases kind of came at the beginning of the year, and then the main iPhone release kind of came at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like doing 3 at once, all at the end of the year. Is interesting. Do you think that will harm Apple, kind of like having its attention split between 3 devices?
I don't think so, because I think this year they really need to pull it out of the bag. People weren't that impressed with the iPhone 7, so at the moment it looks like the iPhone 8 is going to be an all screen on the front. It looks like it's going to be complete, like there's barely any bezel at all. We're looking at a tiny little strip along the top. I need to get a video up to show you guys that even.
so these videos that are appearing, that these presumably aren't kind of final production samples or anything. Like where are these videos coming from?
No, we're not really even certain, but it's essentially dummy units. So Marcus Brownlee, for example, had this video which shows you the back of I think that's the iPhone 7S. No, that's the iPhone 8, the silver phone that you can see just there, and that's a fake screen. So this is a dummy unit. He's done a fake screen on that. But it looks cool, doesn't it?
It does look cool. It looks very unlike any iPhone that's come before. You know, like iPhones, like whilst other phones have kind of made the bezel smaller and smaller and smaller, iPhones have really maintained that big bezel at the top and big bezel at the bottom.
In all honesty, it looks like the Samsung Galaxy S8 from the front.
It looks a lot like the Samsung Galaxy S8.
So
it doesn't obviously like curve around to the side. It seems, but you know they're kind of going for that like maximum screen and minimum bezel thing.
So yeah, we've got a dual camera on the back, which looks a little bit different to the iPhone 7 Plus, which was the first dual camera from Apple. We think that's probably because there may be some kind of AR tech based in there. Are we all done with the video? Cool. And the other big thing is there isn't a Touch ID fingerprint sensor on this unit. That may be something that comes later, and that might be because this is a different dummy unit to everything else we've seen, to what Apple's actually working on right now. We have seen some other dummy units that did have a fingerprint sensor on the back, but it looks like there may be Face ID technology in this, which essentially is going to be facial recognition technology, which isn't always that accurate on Android phones. So that's going to be quite interesting.
I'm gonna put my name on the line right now as someone that's not a phones journalist, but you might want to come back to this video when the iPhone launches, because I'm going to make the bold claim and say that the new iPhone edition, the iPhone 8, will definitely have a fingerprint scanner.
You reckon?
Yeah, so the reason for that is Apple ID, right? So like, and Apple's whole thing... No, sorry, not Apple ID, Apple Pay. So Apple's whole thing with Apple Pay is that, you know, you have that fingerprint there, you pay, and then it's very secure because you have that fingerprint sensor right there. And also, it's kind of, you orient it in a way that like you couldn't look at your face. You know, you tap it on like a card reader as you go into the tube, or you tap it on an NFC reader. You kind of have to lean across. It'd be really difficult to kind of orient it to look at your face. Apple is not going to release a device in 2017 that doesn't support Apple Pay. It makes far too much money from Apple Pay because it gets that commission on every single transaction made. Apple Pay is a big initiative for Apple. Every device has to support it. The iPhone 8 will definitely have a fingerprint sensor. John Porter out.
2017, August 2017. And for release date, we're looking at probably a September, maybe even early October event. That's what we're looking at the moment. We expect one event to announce the iPhone 7S, the S Plus, and the iPhone 8, but the iPhone 8 may come in the future. It may be something that we see maybe even like November, December, or a little bit later with the 7S Plus coming out beforehand.
Now, just quickly, because I'm aware we're kind of overrunning on this segment, 7S and 7S Plus, do you think there'll be anything interesting there, or do you think it'll be like the 6S, you know, same phone, slightly faster processor? Do you reckon like the dual cameras will maybe make it down to the non-Plus version?
So the 7 Plus had dual cameras, so we expect the same on the 7S Plus.
Will the 7S non-Plus
at the
have
moment
dual
it
cameras?
looks like it may do. There's some rumours saying that, and there's some rumours saying the opposite. So it's kind of it's a little bit it's not certain at the moment. It's not as certain as most of the iPhone 8 rumours are. It looks like it's going to be a glass-backed phone. It looks like wireless charging is going to be in there. Okay. So a few minor upgrades, a kind of traditional S variant for Apple.
Cool. So if I have a wireless charging station at the moment that I've used with a Samsung phone that currently supports it, do you reckon that will support the iPhone thing, or will Apple do that thing where they have devices that only support they have the kind of their own closed ecosystem?
So they're part of the Wireless Power Consortium now, which is kind of it's basically the head of Qi technology. You always see it written down as QI. That's actually said as Qi. They joined that earlier this year, and that's kind of the international standard for wireless charging. So fingers crossed any wireless charging pad would work with it. But as you say, it's Apple. They may decide to do something a little bit strange and keep it in-house. Cool, let's move on. So we've got the LG V30. We got press release through earlier today, actually, giving us a bit of a teaser. So we know they are announcing that phone at IFA at the end of the month.
Sweet.
But we've also now know that the camera on this phone will have a f1.6 aperture camera, which is the best we've ever seen in any smartphone.
What is aperture? Why does it make for a better camera?
So essentially, it's going to...
Because I don't know.
So essentially, it's going to allow more light into the sensor, and it's going to allow for better images in low light. Is basically the main difference here. Whether that's going to make it better than the Galaxy S8 camera or the iPhone 7 Plus camera, which both have f.18, if I'm right, for the iPhone, and f.17 for the Samsung Galaxy S8. I may be wrong on that, but it's around that kind of figure. It seems like a minor thing, and it could possibly mean that the camera's better than those, especially in low light, but it's not for certain yet. But it's a really interesting thing that LG is going to focus this phone on the camera. Even me and Basil were saying in our last live stream, what are LG trying to push with this line of phone? It's not their main line of phone. So what is the V30 going to do, especially because it looks like it won't even be a dual screen phone anymore like the V20 was. It looks like the camera's going to be the big focus there.
It's really interesting, like the cameras on phones seem to be an increasing focus. You know, you had Google last year making a massive song and dance about the camera and the Pixel.
OnePlus 5. All the marketing about the OnePlus 5 is about portrait mode.
Then,
it's all
like every single advertisement I see out and about for the iPhone is always shot on iPhone. It's the camera thing.
Sure.
Like they don't say anything about the rest of the specs of that device. At least in terms of like the public advertisements that they're producing. And so it seems like they kind of see a camera as like a key point of differentiation, especially at a point now where like all phones are kind of powerful enough for like most day-to-day activities.
It's a really easy thing to market, though. I think is being able to take a better image with your phone is probably easier to market than some of the big features. Even stuff like Infinity Display. It's just basically if you're going to put that on an advert, Samsung's screen technology. If you're going to put that on an advert, you're just going to be like, look how pretty this phone looks. If you can say this is the photos you can take with this phone, that shows you a feature you can use, and you can then grab it and actually use that, and it makes it a bit more exciting, I think.
That's fair. So with this, the V30 is what, like the second tier of LG's phones? Because it released the LG G6 earlier this year.
Yeah, LG G6
confusingly named the same as an OLED TV it released last year.
Oh, yeah, you would be an
LG OLED. And like they're going to have the same problem next year, because next year it's going to presumably called the G7.
Yeah.
And this year they had a TV called the G7. So like sort it out, LG.
It makes no sense. It's
anyway,
so frustrating.
That only people that are into TVs will like understand or care about that sort of thing. But the V30 is like the next tier down.
Sure. So they've had the V10 and the V30. The V10 and the V20 lines before. They've only been available in the US. It's kind of a line sitting on the same thing as the flagship, but some of the tech is a little bit better. It's a very strange deal. We think the V30 is going to come to the UK and Europe, much wider markets, and it's going to be a little bit different to the V20. So it's going in a new direction.
What do you reckon? Like the battery life would be like? Like, are we kind of in like? Are they going to like try and like take out the Lenovo P2 in terms of like beating that like massive 2-day battery life?
It's not going to have 2-day battery life.
No.
I hope it does, but I don't think that's not really the main focus of this phone. They're going for more specs and everything. So let's move on to Netflix. So Netflix has some big news this week.
So
Tell us the news.
It's really interesting. So like Disney and Netflix have of course worked together a great deal over the years. Not only have Disney's films appeared on Netflix, you've probably seen the likes of Captain America, Winter Soldier is definitely on Netflix UK at the moment, but Disney have said that come 2019 they are no longer going to be putting their shows on Netflix, and they are in fact going to be launching, it's very sad, their own competing streaming service. Now of course Disney have kind of launched streaming services in the past, but they've kind of been like side things, they've kind of been like meant for kids and that sort of stuff, but this is like a real kind of not inclusive, like a real all-encompassing streaming effort from Disney. I mean, in terms of like its relationship with Netflix, they've obviously like worked together a lot because they've worked on all these Marvel shows. They've kind of put the Defenders, which is coming out soon, it's coming out soon.
Defenders is very soon. Yeah.
So that's a lot of content that they've been working together on, and for Disney to kind of like withdraw its kind of support, like take its IP away. I mean, I don't think it's specifically spoken about like that deal as part of this announcement, but I think that's a big loss for Netflix.
I wasn't really that fussed about it until we even spoke about the Defenders and like those kind of Marvel shows, and I was like, actually, that's part of Disney now. Well, that's going to be a real shame that we're going to lose those, and that's one of the best parts of Netflix.
I think the thing that bummed me out most about this whole thing is that when the streaming kind of revolution came about, when Netflix kind of really kicked into gear and it became a digital streaming provider as opposed to a DVDs by post provider, there was this real hope that consumers could save loads of money because you could cancel your expensive cable subscription, you could cancel your expensive satellite subscription, and you could just have one streaming service that would just get you everything for, in the UK at least, around $10 a month, which is so cheap compared to how much cable subscriptions are. And now it's kind of going in this opposite direction where essentially instead of subscribing to a massive like bundle of channels with a cable subscription, you're just going to be subscribing to a massive bundle of streaming services, and so kind of paying the same amount of money as you were back in the day and just streaming it rather than like watching it over cable or satellite or whatever. So it kind of feels like the consumer hasn't really gained anything besides on-demand content. You have not really gained anything in terms of the amount of money you're paying.
So I'm kind of fine with that because you're getting more specialist services. You're getting like the anime services such as like Crunchyroll and that kind of thing. And you can really pick what you really love and you can then subscribe to that. My problem with it is then a brand taking it out and going, this is all just Disney stuff, and then obviously Disney encompasses Star Wars and Marvel and everything like that, so it's a really big base. But I'd rather that I was subscribing to to Netflix with the huge dramas and everything on it, and it wasn't all just part of Disney. I don't want to pay a certain amount of money each month just to consume Disney content. Is personally my problem with it.
Well, I mean, exactly, and you have this a lot in the UK with Now TV, which is owned by Sky Broadcasting. Sky Broadcasting have the exclusive rights to broadcast Game of Thrones in the UK, and so what a lot of people do is you subscribe to Now TV whilst Game of Thrones is on, and then you cancel your Now TV subscription when that's over, because maybe there's not a lot of other stuff on there that you want to watch. I mean, there's some great stuff, but like maybe there's not quite as much stuff as you get out of a Netflix subscription. So I think it's probably likely we're going to see a lot of stuff like that where you're like, oh, I want to watch that series, I subscribe, and then you cancel, and then like I guess the companies hope that you forget to cancel and you just end up subscribing to like 8 streaming services. But it feels annoying that you have to like manage that sort of thing, and I wanted more from Netflix, but they've really gone down this original content route they want. The CEOs kind of said they want 50% of their content to be original content. So it kind of feels like they've just turned into like a TV network rather than a streaming provider. And that's fine, because they do good stuff, but I expected more.
Yeah. There isn't really anything that bad on Netflix, though, in terms of the original stuff. They've done consistently.
That Adam Sandler film, The Magnificent Six.
Sorry,
the Sinister. No,
the Magnificent Six. That was it.
Yeah, fucking trash. Absolutely, just awful.
Cool. So we're going to talk a little bit about something else that you've tried out this week.
Yeah. So last week I had an electric motorcycle in for 3 days or so. This is a bike manufactured by a manufacturer called Super Soco. I believe
Super Soco?
No.
Like the water guns?
No, that's what I originally thought. No, it's Super SOCO. And it's really fun. So I kind of got it in because it's like, is our electric motorbikes having their Tesla moment? And what I found was not quite. This thing is kind of limited to 30 miles an hour in the UK. I'm not quite sure about other territories. It looks very cool, but like ultimately you're riding this thing around that can't quite keep up with traffic in anything other than like congested city centres. And so whilst the nice thing about having a motorbike is you can not only like get to and from work nice and easily, but you can also kind of do longer journeys. And this thing, it does the commuting bit absolutely amazingly, but the longer trips it kind of struggles with slightly. It's a kind of uncomfortable ride. The range anxiety is there. I got about like 25 miles out of it, which is fine for commuting, but longer journeys you might struggle. And ride's a little bit uncomfortable. So definitely a really cool product, a really interesting thing to try out, but I don't think electric motorbikes, at least not this one, are at a point of replacing a traditional motorbike.
So if you're commuting in a city, generally you want to be able to charge your electric bike or electric car on a driveway or something like that. In a city like London, that's not really something most people have.
That's the really interesting thing
or?
About the Super Soco, in that its battery is removable. So what then you do is you park it up, you open up its not the saddle, but it's like the bit in front of the saddle. Open it up, take out this massive battery, lug that into your office or into your house, and just plug it into the wall, which is really great because it basically means your bike is sitting out there without any power, so no one can really steal it, which is a really great anti-theft deterrent.
That's brilliant.
Which may end up, I guess, like being difficult in the longer run if this becomes really popular and people have easy access to those batteries. Maybe you could steal it and you put it. But for the time being, at least, it basically makes it useless for any potential thief. And does mean that you can charge it absolutely anywhere. So I parked it in a normal motorcycle parking bay, which is free in London because you don't pay parking for electric vehicles, which is good. And then I just brought the battery into the office and I stole my employer's power to power my electric motorbike.
Shouldn't have admitted of that on the internet.
Yeah, just as I was saying it, I realised this is probably a career-limiting move that I'm just performing right now. Swearing live on the internet and talking about stealing power.
And the other thing we'd like you to check out this week is a video that we published a couple of days ago now on Hellblade. Quite an exciting game. So our writer Emma Boyle went along and she tried out the motion capture tech that's used in the game. Can you tell us a little bit about Hellblade and why is it interesting?
There was a really interesting discussion in the comments so far, so I'd encourage you to go along and leave a comment there. Whatever you think of the video, whether you think it's great or whether you think, like you have some criticism to make. Comment. So a lot of people are kind of saying that they don't think this motion capture technology is that new, and you're a little bit correct. Definitely, like other studios like Naughty Dog famously use a lot of motion capture tech to power their games and to animate them.
There's that amazing footage of them like sitting on a load of blocks, isn't there? When it's actually meant to be the Land Rover, and it's just them sat on some blocks, just like, bouncing a little bit. It's amazing. Yeah, pretty much.
But the cool thing about what Ninja Theory are doing is that all of this stuff is being drawn into the game in real time. It's not being exported as a wireframe and then imported into a piece of animation software. They're literally going straight from Emma Boyle doing the worst squat in the world straight into the game, all in real time, which massively slims down the amount of like time and effort it takes to animate a character. And they're also doing facial recognition technology. Now, of course, this is the studio that famously worked with Andy Serkis back in like 2009 or something on Enslaved: Odyssey to the West. So they've done their research. They know their motion capture tech. Haven't actually had a chance to play the new game. I hope it's good. Really interesting video to check out if you're at all interested in the process of making games, or if you just want to see someone perform an awful squat.
That should be in the comments now, so be sure to check out that video. Right, so we're going to wrap up a little bit here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. If you want to hang around and you've commented already, we're going to answer those questions in a moment. But yeah, if not, thanks for watching.
See ya.